Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes. We're here to present you our NFL Week 1 quarterback picks. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NFL, MLB, and NBA videos. And if you haven't checked out the site DFS Cheat Sheet, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy football's back, man. I love football. I'm excited for this weekend. You know, we talked about it earlier in our quick breakdown of today's game that basically just stay away from today. We try to warn people. A lot of people played because the contest definitely filled up for today's one game slate. Ended up being a low scoring game with literally one touchdown in the whole game. So hey, that was a good, it was a good learning lesson that, just because there's games on Thursdays don't mean necessarily you got to get the exposure to those games. I learned the hard way. Last year I ended up just starting to play just main slates. I know that's basically what you do. So yeah, man, like I said, I'm just excited football's back. We still got our NFL luxury box special up, so make sure to take advantage of that. Use promo code NFL 2019. And yeah, man, you ready to talk some quarterbacks for this week?
Let me just say this really quick. Here's the bottom line, man. FanDuel and DraftKings are like Vegas, okay? Vegas doesn't go broke. They find a way to keep the lights on, right?
Right.
How are you going to differentiate yourself? I think that pot tonight was for $1 million first place prize, and I put 3 entries in it, and I put Jimmy Graham as my MVP player, like I said in the video, in all 3 lineups. And I think the pot was chopped at $10,000. So what is that? 1,000 people or 100 people? That 100 people. It's late. 100 people chopped the pot.
Yeah,
first place.
I think it was.
You can't be different with 5. It's so hard to be different. I mean, you got to take players you're uncomfortable with. Basically, what I'm telling you is it's a crapshoot. It's more of a gamble, and this is not supposed to be a gamble. It's supposed to be a game of skill. So don't have dead money on Thursday night. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I learned that the hard way. Last couple of years, I've lost money playing Thursday slates. So yeah, we're gonna talk about NFL Week 1. We're gonna talk about some quarterbacks that we think are really standing out for this week. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Cool, man. So the way we're gonna do this video, we'll just kind of throw out some guys that I like, throw out some guys that you like. We can discuss the guys together, pros and cons of the play, and just kind of go about it that way. I'll start it off if you want. First guy that I'm looking at this week, I like Carson Wentz going against the Eagles. Carson Wentz, he 2 years ago before he got hurt, he was a front runner for MVP candidate. As much as I don't want to give the guy love because I'm a Cowboys fan and he's my division, the guy was looking very, very good. Ended up getting hurt, came back last year and just didn't look the same. Now, he's had a full off season to be completely healthy. Gets a matchup against his Redskins defense. I really like the Eagles and I really like Carson Wentz this week. He has a couple really good weapons and Zach Ertz and Alshon Jeffries, and they have a couple of other really good receivers there. So I think that Wentz is in a prime spot to have a really good week. Eagles have the 4th highest total on the slate, projected to score almost 28 points. I like Wentz. He's a guy I'm really looking at this week. What do you think about Wentz?
I think Wentz is a really scary pick. I like it, right? He's a good player. The guy should throw for a lot of yards this year if he can stay healthy. He should have some really big games. But he's a really scary play. I think there's better plays. I think Wentz is going to be a popular pick because it's against Washington. But here's my question for you. How bad is Washington? How bad are the Washington Redskins, right? They went 0-9 last year when they gave up 20 points. They started the season, I think their offense is putrid. They've got a mess at quarterback. They've got a rookie there that they say they're not going to play for a while. He clearly looks like he's the best quarterback through the preseason. And the reason I think he's scary is this could get into a situation where he could be limited with the amount of attempts he has. And this, to me, feels almost like an Aaron Rodgers situation where you could have him go, 17 of 24 for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is it's a good day, right? But it's not a good fantasy day.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and basically you're thinking maybe Redskins probably not going to put up too many points. Eagles could definitely get up and kind of run the ball.
I don't think Washington has the weapons to keep this game a competitive, high-scoring football game.
I get you. That definitely makes sense.
Here's the flip side of it, right? The best thing that Washington has going for them is their pass rush. That's the best thing they have going for them. Right. So I don't mind the pick. I like the pick. I like Carson Wentz. I just –
And I mean – and honestly, I mean, Vegas agrees with you. I mean, because the Eagles are one of the highest favorites on the board and almost favored by 10 points. So I definitely get your point on that. Who you liking? I mean, who's jumping out to you right now?
So the first guy I'm going to mention is Nick Foles, right? I think Nick Foles is under the radar. And look, where did Kansas City get good?
Yeah,
and they got the Honey Badger, so they pick up Tyrann Mathieu. The guy's a playmaker, but where'd their defense get good?
Yeah, I mean, outside of him, it wasn't really much of an improved defense this year, and they weren't a very good defense at all last year. They were just really outscored.
They lose Eric Berry. They lose Justin Houston. They lose Dee Ford, and they pick up Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark. Like, I don't see where they improve their defense, and I don't see where they're going to be so much better against the pass or against the run. I mean, Dee Ford's that's a big name you lost, right? That's a huge player. That's a primetime player. So I like Nick Foles a lot. I think that he's got some weapons around him. And I think that, look, you got a running game with Fournette. You've got receivers there. Nick Foles with his new team. We saw week in and week out last year, Kansas City, they put up a ton of points. They went far with Mahomes, but they also gave up a lot of yards, a lot of fantasy points, and a ton of points.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like Nick Foles. I think this year he's going to have a really good year, and there he has some good young receivers out there in Jacksonville. Another guy that I'm looking at, I like, I know there's a lot of hype around it, but I like Baker Mayfield, and I like him this week going against Tennessee. It's looking like Odell Beckham is going to play. He's probable. That's his new, weapon that he has, and he already has. What is just went blank right now? What is the other receiver that one came from Miami?
So they have Njoku, who we like a lot.
Njoku,
right? They had Odell Beckham Jr.
And then I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. The other receiver.
Jarvis Landry?
Yeah, Landry. I'm sorry. Jarvis Landry, yeah. So I mean he has 3 really good weapons. I was reading a thing about Baker Mayfield is, the second half of the season they ended up switching offensive coordinators. Through the first 8 games or whatever, they gave up like one of the league's worst, the most sacks. And when they got the new offensive coordinator, he came through with different schemes. In the last 8 games of the season, he ended up only getting, it was like the second lowest amount of sacks or something. So, I mean, the coordinator's there. Things were rolling in the second half of the season. He was starting to really kind of get going and feeling himself. Plus, he has a really new good weapon in Odell Beckham. I like Mayfield, and he's a guy that can run a little bit. We like quarterbacks who can pick up 40, 50 yards, give us those extra 4 or 5 fantasy points. I mean, what do you think about the Mayfield pick?
So let me give you 3 names, all right? Jayon Brown, Adoree Jackson, and Harold Landry. 3 guys that are the cornerstones to this young Tennessee defense that's really deep. I think this is a good week to take Baker Mayfield because I think people are going to stay off Baker Mayfield for the simple fact that Tennessee's defense is supposed to be good. They did lose Brian Orakpo. They lost a couple of other starters who left in free agency. But Adoree Jackson does scare me, man. This guy's a talent. He's a really good defensive back. They've got linebacker Jayon Brown. It's a good defense. I think people will stay up. Baker Mayfield, like you mentioned, he can be flushed. He can run. He can make plays with his feet. He's got Njoku, who we loved last year. He still has Jarvis Landry. The running backs are deep there. They've got pass-catching running backs. So this defense might be good, and it might keep people off Baker Mayfield, and that may be just what you need in tournaments is a guy who very low owned. Baker Mayfield could be very low owned. And a guy who has all the ability to go out and put up a monster game.
I like his upside. I mean, that's what I really look at when I talk about Baker Mayfield and I look at him this week. I mean, who else is jumping out to you quarterback wise?
I think Russell Wilson is in a really good spot also. You take a look at the matchup for Russell Wilson. I mean, look, Cincinnati is a mess as well, right? Cincinnati, what makes them a good football team?
Right. Yeah.
Look, Geno Atkins is still there. I get that, right? But would you agree Geno Atkins is probably past his prime here?
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
Outside of that, name a playmaker that they've got on the defensive side of the ball. You can't, right? So this is a young team defensively that's got they've got spots to fill across the board in that defense. And Russell Wilson is a seasoned veteran quarterback who's got some under-the-radar weapons. They've got a defense that's young, that's probably in a put up or shut up, and Seattle's backs are gonna be against the wall from week one in the division they're in. The 49ers are improved. They get their quarterback back. They've drafted heavily and invested heavily in their defense. They've got a ton of young talent on their defense. The Rams defending NFC champs. So, Seattle's back is against the wall. I think Seattle comes out swinging, and Russell Wilson has a monster game here.
Yeah, no, I like Russell Wilson. He's a guy, and we talk about, we like them running quarterbacks. He's a guy that easily can get you, 4 or 5 extra points on the ground. Speaking of running quarterbacks, Cam Newton, it's looking like he is going to play this week. I like Cam Newton in this spot. The Rams, their defense it's tough, because their defense they have a pretty good defense. But we know Cam Newton, he's a guy that they depend on him for everything. I mean, he's a guy that's going to get you, 6, 7 extra points, just yards. He's a quarterback who always in the red zone. He's their number one red zone option. McCaffrey's a great running back, and I think he's going to have a really good season. But when they're down inside the 4 or 5 yard line, they give Cam Newton the ball and they let him kind of punch it in, and that's what really always boosts Cam Newton's stock. And if you can get a running touchdown out of him, in the red zone, and he throws for 2 touchdowns, he tends to have really good games. So I like Cam Newton also against the Rams. I think that he's a player that nobody's really going to be on because it's the Rams defense and they have these guys and this guy, but it's a 3-point spread. Vegas expects it to be a pretty close game, and I like Cam Newton in this spot.
I don't know. I don't dislike Cam Newton. I just don't know if Cam Newton has the upside in this particular matchup to get you what you need. One thing I will say, there's a guy that they picked up that I think helps him a ton. I think you would agree that from a weapon standpoint over the last 2 years outside of the tight end position with Greg Olsen, he hasn't had any weapons around him, right?
Nothing. No, for sure. I agree 100%.
He has not. Hold it with foot, broke the foot. So he doesn't have a ton of weapons, but they did go out and they signed somebody that has a Super Bowl pedigree in Chris Hogan. And we saw what Chris Hogan could do when he was in New England. We saw what he could do when he was in Buffalo. The guy, he's a really good route runner. He's a deep threat. I think that this guy gives Cam Newton a lot. And I think from that standpoint, you can put Chris Hogan in the slot. I probably like Chris Hogan as a wide receiver more than I like Cam Newton because I think there's more upside with Hogan at 4,600. I know we're talking about a wide receiver, but as the season goes on, I think that guy makes Cam Newton a better play than he was last year. I just don't know if there's the upside in this matchup for Cam Newton to get you what you need.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get you. I definitely get you. And there's a couple other guys. I mean, who else you got in mind for quarterback this week?
Look, my top quarterback that I think the number one quarterback in football right now is just got a huge contract extension, and that's Jared Goff. I mean,
yeah, I like Jared Goff.
Jared Goff has more weapons than anybody, and I would say he has. That says a lot when you talk about what New Orleans has and what Drew Brees has around him and what Matt Ryan has around him. I mean, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp comes back. He's healthy. So they've got the 3 receivers. Gerald Everett had showed some signs like he can be a playmaker. You've got the back situation where Todd Gurley is probably one of the underrated running backs in all the preseason rankings. I see him, everybody's got Saquon 1 and, all these other guys in front of him. I mean, I've seen David Johnson ranked ahead of him, and he's got so many weapons around him. He's got a lot of pass catchers, and he threw the ball an enormous amount of times last year. So I love Jared Goff. I don't mind this matchup against Carolina one bit. The matchup, he seemed to be pretty matchup proof last year as well. I think he's in a really good spot. And like I said, he's my top rated quarterback overall when you look at the season long picture.
Yeah, no, I like Jared Goff. I mean, the only thing that really kind of scares me a little bit with him is towards the end of the season, he kind of tailed off a little bit. Numbers dropped in the playoffs. He kind of had a little bit of a struggle. But fresh season, everybody's healthy right now. Everybody's full of energy. I like the play a lot. Just a couple of guys I want to quickly mention. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to go crazy on these guys and say that they're the greatest plays this week. But, I mean, you got Drew Brees. You got Tom Brady. I mean, they have their teams have the two highest implied, totaled on the slate. So I just quickly want to just throw them out there. I'm not necessarily going crazy on them, but I think that they're both good GPP plays that are going to be a little bit lower owned. Also, too, one more guy I just quickly want to throw out there, Jameis Winston as well. We know Tampa Bay, they like to just throw the ball over and over and over again. Winston, I mean, he gets a matchup against the Raiders, correct? I'm sorry, the 49ers, right?
Yes.
Yes, and I mean, the 49ers last year, they were ranked 27th against the pass, and I didn't see nobody that they picked up that really is going to help, get them better in their pass defense. So those are just a couple guys that I quickly want to throw out there. They're not really guys that they're 100% on my radar. I just think GPP plays, they're guys you could consider. You have some people that kind of you have in mind for GPP?
So let me just say this. Jimmy Ward, K'Waun Williams, they've got Richard Sherman. They pick up Dee Ford. They draft DeForest Buckner. And the 49ers defense is much, much, much improved, right?
Okay.
So with DeForest Buckner and Dee Ford, you've got the rookie and Nick Bosa. Look, I think we'll do our defensive video later on, but the 49ers are a top 5 defense for me this week, and I'm taking Garoppolo on the other side of this.
Okay.
Jameis Winston, if he's done one thing consistently his entire career, it's turned the football over. And I think that look, Bosa we know was a beast in college. We know the bloodline. DeForest Buckner has played well. Dee Ford, we just talked about Kansas City losing him and what they lost with him. And the secondary's improved. It's not great, but if you've got a pass rush, it makes your secondary that much better.
Right, gives them
Jameis Winston, like you said, Tampa Bay likes to throw the ball all over the yard. They don't have since he's been there, they haven't had a running game that they could count on, right? So the one thing you can't count on, though, is Winston does turn the football over, either fumbling it and being careless with it when he takes off and scrambles or just making stupid throws.
Right.
So I like Garoppolo. I think he gets on track, and I like the 49ers defense, and that's kind of what I got to say about Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, one of the reasons that I do like Winston is the ball's in his hand. They don't got him running back that they could count on. So he's going to throw the ball a ton. And then, I like the Garoppolo play a lot. Last year, Tampa Bay, they were dead last in the league against the pass rush. Against the pass game. So I think that is a good call with Garoppolo. I think him and Kittle are going to have something special this year. Did I miss any quarterbacks that are kind of jumping out to you? And really quick, what is your thoughts on, the Drew Brees and the Tom Brady's with their teams being the two highest implied totals?
The only guy we haven't really talked about is Matt Ryan.
Oh, yeah, Matt. Yeah. I like Matt Ryan basically every week. I mean, he just has a ton of weapons.
I like Matt Ryan in the season long. You're asked right now Matt Ryan's season long rankings, right? I like Matt Ryan. I mentioned he's got a ton of weapons around him. You got Julio Jones.
Ridley.
Right.
Sanu.
You got Ridley. You've got Hooper at tight end. You've even got
what's coming out the backfield.
I love Ito Smith this year. I think Ito Smith's going to have a very impactful year for them. He was really good in the preseason. And look, he's got Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin are beasts, absolute beasts. This is a crazy defensive line. Look, Minnesota completely underwhelmed people last year. completely underwhelmed people last year. They have a defensive head coach. I look for their defense to bounce back and have a bounce back year and something close to what they had when they played in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. I don't like Matt Ryan this week. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a really good year. I just don't like him this week because I don't know if the upside is there and if there's going to be enough points scored in this game. It's a week 1 game. One thing to keep in mind is that in these week 1 games, defenses are much further along than offenses are. Evidenced by tonight. Right. Evident completely by tonight. So as far as Drew Brees and Tom Brady and the games that are on this slate, I think Derek Carr is going to have a monster year. We'll have to wait and see how the Antonio Brown situation shakes out. But one thing that look, everybody saw the Raiders on Hard Knocks, so everybody's going to know something about the Raiders right now. But I will tell you this. John Gruden's playbook is enormous. Okay? Right. It's huge. And the fact that this is his second year in this system, the quarterback is responsible for so many things in John Gruden's system, setting the pass protections, checking plays down, making sure they get in the right play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot to process for a quarterback. And he's got some guys around him as well. So the Raiders' defense, I think, will be much improved. That creates more possessions, better field position. You can be more aggressive. I think Derek Carr is going to be very, very, very under the radar if you're playing if you played a Thursday slate and you just reserve some lineups that you're going to swap guys out and I would get some exposure to Carr if you haven't already. And Drew Brees, I mean, look, they pick up Jared Cook. We know what he does at the tight end position. They have Michael Thomas already. Alvin Kamara, one of the most explosive, electric players in all of football. I think the Saints offense is the top offense in football as we sit right now with a game not being played, just ranking it out. So I really like Drew Brees a lot.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm about ready to get out of here. We mentioned all the quarterbacks that I like. You mentioned who you like. I want to touch on one thing, and I'm going to let you handle this, and then we'll get up out of here, okay? See, everybody and their mom right now is on Jackson. What do you think? What are you thinking
Lamar
about
Jackson? To me, feels like a trap, dude. I just look. I've been saying it for a while, and I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why all of these guys on Sirius XM radio and everybody making YouTube videos and all of the tout sites are on this dude Lamar Jackson. Yes, the guy's blessed. He's an athlete. He can run. Great. Good for him. This is the NFL, man. Let me just touch on a couple of quick things. The NFL game is not the college game. Okay? What do I mean by that? The hash marks in high school football and in college football are much wider than they are in the NFL. The NFL is designed to be played in the middle of the field. The college and high school games are designed to be played on the perimeter of the field. When you have that space and you're playing field and boundary like you're playing in high school and in college, it creates mismatches with the defense. You can override on that. You can play to the strong side. You can play to the wide side, which we call the field or the boundary. You don't have that in the NFL. Did he make plays last year? Was he electric last year? Yes, he was with his legs. They got Mark Ingram. You're going to see teams stack the box against this dude and spy him with a linebacker and bring pressure and try and flush him right into a spy. That's exactly what defenses are going to do to this guy. So many really good quarterbacks and really good players in the NFL have struggled in their second year, or else we wouldn't have the quote-unquote sophomore slump with a lot of guys. I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. I can't think of any weapons that stand out to me that I want to mention that are around him from a receiving standpoint. And even if he had great weapons from a receiving standpoint, he's not a good passer. He's not a good passer. So you're going to see teams bring pressure, force him to throw the football, spy him with linebackers, and everybody listening to this is going to look at me and say, well, why didn't they do that last year? This is a copycat league, right? Let somebody lay the blueprint on him, and then that's going to be game over. He wasn't a good passer at Louisville, and he wasn't a good passer last year. He's like Tim Tebow, but more athletic.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. So, hey, that's really what we got for quarterbacks, is kind of touch some guys that we liked and a couple guys that we really aren't on that some of the other industry may be on. Hey, make sure to check out some more of our videos. We'll be back with our running back video, wide receiver, tight end, defense. Plus, we'll do a breakdowns of the whole entire slate as well. So make sure to have those notifications turned on. Stay tuned. And, hey, good luck this weekend. And, hey, good luck, man. Let's get some money. Peace out.